Hello learners, how are you all? I hope you all are doing well. I am Rekha Garg. Welcome you all in today's session for class 9th Science. Today we will take up chapter number 1, Matter in our surroundings. In today's session we will discuss about the matter and its characteristics. First, let us understand the learning objectives of the today's session. After completing today's session, you all will be able to define the term matter, discuss the physical nature of matter, able to list out the characteristics of particles of matter, and also able to explain the characteristics of particles of matter. The first question that arises in front of us is, what is matter? As we look at our surroundings, we see a large variety of things with different shapes, sizes and textures. Everything in the universe is made up of material which scientists have named matter. Anything that has mass and occupies space is called matter. For example, the air we breathe, the food we eat, stones, clouds, stars, plants and animals. Even a small drop of water or a particle of sand, everything is matter. These are all called matter as they have certain mass and they occupy space. In other words, they have both mass and volume. While feelings like love, hate, fear, hunger, etc. are not called matter, as they do not have mass and do not occupy space. Since early times, human beings have been trying to understand their surroundings. Early Indian philosophers classified matter in the form of 5 basic elements, the Panch Tattva: air, earth, fire, sky and water. According to them, everything living or non-living was made up of these 5 basic elements. Modern day scientists have evolved 2 types of classification of matter based on their physical properties and chemical nature. On the basis of physical properties, matter can be classified as solids, liquids and gases. On the basis of chemical nature, matter can be classified as pure substance and mixtures. Pure substance may be elements or compounds. Mixture can be homogeneous and heterogeneous. In this chapter, we shall learn about the matter based on its physical properties. Chemical aspects of matter will be taken up in subsequent chapters. So, let us understand the characteristics of particles of matter. Matter is made up of very tiny particles. The particles of matter have space between them. The particles of matter are continuously moving. The particles of matter attract each other. Let us understand these characteristics in detail one by one. The first characteristic is matter is made up of particles. So, how can we say that matter is made up of particles? To understand it, let us do a small activity. Take some water in a beaker and note its level. Dissolve some salt or sugar in it with the help of glass rod. The salt dissolves in water. What was there in the spoon? Salt or sugar has now spread throughout the water. This shows that matter is made up of particles. These particles of matter have space between them. To understand it, let us repeat our first activity. We observed that when we dissolved salt in the water, the level of the water does not change. This is because the particles of the salt get into the space between the particles of water. Similarly, when we make tea, coffee or lemonade, you know lemonade, Nimbu pani? Particles of one type of matter get into the spaces between the particles of the other. Similarly, if we add water in a dry brick, water fills in the brick and does not come out. It is because water particles fill the space between the particles of the brick. This shows that there is enough space between the particles of the matter. Now, let us see how small are these particles of matter. To understand it, let us do another small activity. Dissolve 2 to 3 crystals of potassium permanganate in 100 ml of water in a beaker. Then again take 10 ml of the solution and dissolve in 100 ml of water. Repeat this process 5 to 6 times. Is the water still colored? With every dilution, though the color becomes light, it is still visible. This shows that a few crystals of potassium permanganate can color a large volume of water because there are millions of tiny particles in each crystal of potassium permanganate, which keep on dividing themselves into the smaller and smaller particles. The same activity can be done using 2 ml of Dettol instead of potassium permanganate. The smell can be detected even on repeated dilution. This is reason we get the smell of Dettol from our hands even after repeated washing. The particles of matter are very small. They are small beyond your imagination. Isn't it amazing? To understand the next characteristic of matter, let us take one stick of an essence stick. Hold it on stand, place it in a corner of the room and light it. How close do you have to go near it so as to get its smell? We will see that its fragrance gets spread evenly in the room. The fragrance can be felt in whole room. It is not confined to one corner. The whole room starts smelling very good. This is because the particles of matter are continuously moving and can spread uniformly throughout the area. Students, if a person wearing strong perfume comes in your room, you will immediately notice him or her, as the smell of the perfume will spread quickly in the room. In the same way, if you enter the house, you can immediately tell what your mother has cooked by the smell of the food cooked by her. This is because particles of matter are continuously moving and can spread uniformly throughout the area. This tells us about the another characteristic of matter, that the particles of the matter are continuously moving. That is, they possesses what we call the kinetic energy. Kinetic energy is the energy which a body possesses by the virtue of being in motion. More the movement, more will be the kinetic energy. To understand it better, let us do another small activity. Take some water in a beaker and put a drop of blue or a red ink slowly along the sides of the beaker. What do you observe immediately after adding the ink drop? We observe that the drop of the ink starts spreading in the water. Leave it undisturbed for few hours. Now what do you observe? The ink spreads evenly throughout the water due to the movement of the particles of water and ink. We observe that the particles of matter intermix on their own with each other. They do so by getting into the spaces between the particles. This intermixing of the particles of two different types of matter on their own is called diffusion. The particles are continuously moving, that is, they have the kinetic energy. They keep on moving so that they are uniformly distributed. Let us do another activity. Drop a crystal of copper sulfate or potassium permanganate into a glass of hot water and another glass containing cold water. Do not stir the solution. Allow the crystals to settle at the bottom. What do you observe just above the solid crystals in the glass? Some particles of the crystal start spreading in the surrounding. As the time passes, the whole liquid becomes colored. Does the rate of mixing change with temperature? Yes, we observe that the crystals of potassium permanganate mixes faster in hot water than cold water. Why this is so? This is because as the temperature rises, particles move faster. So we can say that with increase in temperature, the kinetic energy of the particles also increases. In other words, on heating, diffusion becomes faster. To understand the next characteristic of matter, let us play a game. Play this game in the field, make 4 groups and form human chain as suggested. The first group should hold each other from the back and lock arms, like Idu Mishmi, dancers as shown in the picture. The Idu Mishmi is one of the 2 major tribes of the Arunachal Pradesh. The Idu Mishmis can be distinctively identified among other tribal groups of Arunachal Pradesh by their typical hairstyle, distinctive costumes and artistic patterns embedded on their clothes. Idus are expert in handicraft and weaving. People of sober nature still maintain deep-rooted aesthetic values in their day-to-day life with great pride and honor. The Idu Mishimi community has a rich tradition of folk songs and dances celebrating harvesting, food production and the simple emotions of life. The second group should hold hands to form a human chain. The third group should form a chain by touching each other with only their fingertips. Now, the fourth group of students should run around and try to break the 3 human chains one by one into many small groups as possible. Students, can you tell which group was the easiest to break? Yes, the third group is easiest to break. If we consider each student as a particle of matter, then in which group the particle held each other with the maximum force? Yes, it is the first group. The closer the particles are, the more the force of attraction is there between the particles. To understand it, better let us do another small activity. Take an iron nail, a piece of chalk and a rubber band. Try breaking them by hammering, cutting or stretching. You will see that it is the easiest to break the chalk, lesser easier to break the rubber band and difficult to break the iron nail. This is because the particles in the iron nail are held together with greater force than in the rubber band or chalk. The same can be observed if you try cutting the surface of the water with your fingers. Are you able to cut the surface of water? What could be the reason behind the surface of the water remaining together? It is because particles of matter have force acting between them. This force keeps the particles together. When we swim in a swimming pool or stream or lake, we get tired as you have to exert force to cut through the water. But still, water remains as such because water molecules are held together by the force of attraction between the particles. The strength of this force of attraction varies from one kind of matter to another. So learners, let us now have a quick recap of what we have learned today. Anything that has mass and occupies space is called matter. Matter is made up of very tiny particles. The particles of the matter have space between them. The particles of matter are continuously moving. The particles of matter attract each other. The intermixing of two different types of matter on their own is called diffusion. On heating, diffusion becomes faster. I hope you have learnt today's topic very well. Let us check your understanding. Try to answer these questions. Question 1. In what way are all the substances around us alike? Question number 2. Why are light and sound not considered as a matter? Question number 3. Name the phenomena in which particles of two or more substances intermix on their own. Let us check your answers. Question 1. In what way are all the substances around us alike? Answer is, they all have mass and occupy space. Question number 2. Why are light and sound not considered as a matter? Answer is, they do not have mass and do not occupy space. Yes, you are correct. Question number 3. Name the phenomena in which the particles of two or more substances intermix on their own. The answer is diffusion. Very good. I know that all of you have answered correctly. Let us take a case-based question. First, let us read the passage. Masood wanted to find out which state of substance dissolves faster in water. He filled two similar glass jars. With the same amount of water, Masood added the following substances to the jars of water. 10 gram of copper sulfate crystal to jar 1, then 10 ml of 75% copper sulfate solution to jar 2. The table below shows the color of the water in each jar after specific time period. Let us observe the table carefully. Question is, which statement can be concluded from the Masood's activity? Options are, option A, crystals dissolve partially in the water. Option B, liquids dissolve faster than solids in water. Option C, copper sulfate dissolves faster in water than in any other liquid. Option D, particles of a liquid have a stronger force of attraction than that of a solid. The answer is option B, liquids dissolve faster than solids in water. Let us take another instance. Masood took 10 ml of colored water from jar 2 and poured into 100 ml of plain water in jar X. He then took 10 ml of mixtures from jar X and poured it into 100 ml of plain water in jar Y. He mixed the liquids in jars X and Y. Question is, what would be the likely color of the liquids in jar X and jar Y respectively? 4 options with the respective color in the jar X and jar Y are given to us. Look it carefully. Answer is option B, image. It's now time to note down your assignment related to today's session. Question number 1. Which of the following are matter? Chair, air, love, hate, almonds, thought, cold, cold drink. Question number 2. Give reasons for the following observation. The smell of the hot sizzling food reaches you several meters away, but to get the smell from cold food, you have to go close. Question number 3. a diver is able to cut through the water in a swimming pool. Which property of the matter does this observation show? Question number 4. What are the characteristics of the particles of matter? Question number 5. What is the effect of temperature on the movement of particles of matter? Students, in today's session, we have learnt about matter and its characteristics. In the next session, we will learn about the 3 states of matter and properties of solids, liquids and gases. With this, we have now come to the end of the today's session. I hope you have enjoyed it. Thank you very much.